The Mystery of the Lost Cave, A Journey of Courage and Love. Laura, a determined young woman, faces the anguish of losing her husband Pedro, an adventurer who mysteriously disappeared during a storm. On a cold autumn night, a distant sound leads her to a surprising discovery. Pedro is alive but severely injured. What he reveals next plunges Laura into a dangerous game of cat and mouse with relentless criminals. Join Laura and Pedro on this journey of courage, love, and justice as they uncover the secrets of the lost cave and fight to protect their home and community. Don't miss this story full of twists and excitement. Leave your like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing adventures. It was an autumn night, the cold breeze blowing through the trees, making the dry leaves dance in the air. The small town of Vila Nova was immersed in silence, with only the distant sound of crickets breaking the stillness. Laura, a young woman of 28, was sitting on the porch of her modest house, looking at the starry sky. The stars shone intensely, as if someone had scattered diamond dust in the sky. The biting cold made Laura snuggle more into her wool blanket. She was alone. It had been 3 months since her husband, Pedro, had mysteriously disappeared during a storm. Pedro was an adventurer, always seeking new challenges and mysteries to unravel. He had gone out to explore a newly discovered cave in the nearby mountains but never returned. The search by authorities and local residents was intense but fruitless. Laura missed him every day, the pain of uncertainty gnawing at her heart. Laura stood up, ready to go inside and close the door against the cold when she heard a distant, almost imperceptible sound coming from the surrounding forest. She stopped, trying to decipher the sound. It was a moan, low and weak but unmistakable. Her heart started to beat faster, and she ran to grab a lantern and a heavy coat before heading towards the source of the sound. Following the moans, Laura entered the forest. The trees cast long, eerie shadows under the lantern's light. She moved quickly, her instinct guiding her through the darkness. The moans grew louder as she approached a clearing. When she arrived, Laura froze at the sight of a man lying on the ground, wounded and exhausted. "Pedro!" Laura shouted, running to him. Pedro was in bad shape, with deep cuts and visibly dehydrated. He tried to open his eyes, recognizing the familiar voice of his wife. "Laura!" he murmured, his voice weak. "We need to get out of here. They are coming." Laura didn't understand what he meant, but she knew she needed to get Pedro out of there quickly. With effort, she helped him to his feet and supported him as they made their way back home. Each step was a struggle, but Laura's determination was unwavering. Back in the safety of their home, Laura treated Pedro's wounds and gave him water and food. After a while, he managed to explain what had happened. During his exploration of the cave, Pedro had found a group of criminals using the place as a hideout for their smuggling operations. When discovered, he was attacked and left to die in the forest. By luck, he managed to escape but knew they wouldn't give up easily. Laura realized they were in great danger. They needed to alert the authorities and ensure these criminals were apprehended. But before they could act, they heard the sound of vehicles approaching. Laura's heart raced again. "They are here," Pedro whispered. Laura locked the door and turned off the lights, trying to create an improvised barricade. They hid in the basement, listening to heavy footsteps and threatening voices outside. The tension was palpable, and Laura knew they needed a plan. Even weak, Pedro suggested they use the old underground tunnel that ran beneath the house, a forgotten structure he had discovered during his explorations. It was their only chance of escape. Silently, they opened the tunnel door and started moving through the narrow, damp passage. The sound of footsteps above them became increasingly distant, and the hope of escape grew in their hearts. After what seemed like hours of walking, they emerged in a clearing on the other side of the forest. They were free, but knew the fight was far from over. Laura and Pedro headed to the neighboring town, where they finally managed to contact the authorities. With the information provided by Pedro, the police set up an operation to capture the criminals. The action was swift and efficient. Within a few days, all those involved were arrested, and the contraband recovered. Vila Nova was safe once again. Laura and Pedro, now more united than ever, returned to their home with a renewed purpose. They knew that together, they could face any challenge. The mystery of the cave had been solved, but their adventure was just beginning. Together, they decided to transform the old cave into a local museum, telling the story of their discovery and the fight for justice. Life in Vila Nova would never be the same, but Laura and Pedro were ready to face the future, knowing that their love and determination could overcome any obstacle.